Bryant's going to get three the old-fashioned way.
And passion.
Over to Kobe. Three-pointer by Kobe. Good. Boy, did he bring his three-point game tonight.
And the history of the Los Angeles Lakers.
And he got middle, just what I thought. A hook shot at 12. Good!
It's the celebration of the greatness.
Hand off to Kobe. Oh! Two-handed slam dunk on the weak side.
And legendary performances.
9 to shoot. Gets the screen. Pulls up like one three. Buries it. 70 for Kobe. What did you say?
I saw Kobe score 81 points.
From Kobe Bryant as he plays his farewell season. It's also a look to the future.
Left side, Hibbert, down low, Clarkson in front of the rim, scores, and the Lakers have the lead.
The history of one of the greatest franchises in sports is made here. The ESPN LA Lakers Radio Network.
Right.
We are Laker Nation.
Randall, reverse dunk around three.
This is the power of the purple and gold.
Kobe jab step, two-pointer over, he's a foul and a bucket.
On the home of Lakers basketball. This is ESPN LA 710.
Lakers locker room report. Brian Kamenetsky now joined by Alan Sliwa at our home base here at ESPN LA. 123-75, the final score. Lakers outscored by 18 points in the first quarter, so we kind of saw where this one was going. 9 points in the second, outscored by 13 in the third, and by 8 in the fourth. You add it all up, that's a 48-point loss. Alan Sliwa, that ties the franchise record for the worst loss they've ever had. That is not the kind of record you want to tie. And by the way, it took a bit of a rally for the Lakers to get to that point,
to get
where they
under
didn't
50.
actually set a new mark for the worst loss in franchise history. So not a good night in Salt Lake City.
A few times in the last maybe, let's say, year and a half, you've said, man, this has got to be the lowest point as a Lakers fan, or man, this has got to be the lowest point as a Lakers franchise. And there's been a number of times where I think they've outdone themselves to potentially kind of find a new low. Unfortunately, Brian, this is the reality of where the Lakers are.
Yep.
They've played teams that are either 500 or below, and they're getting blown out by them. It doesn't matter if it's on the road. It doesn't matter if it's at Staples Center. But very, very frustrating, and I'm trying to.
You have to admire their consistency.
Yeah, something like that. It's definitely a frustrating time because I think these are all professional basketball players. 48-point loss. There comes a time where pride has to be a little bit more prideful. That has to be a little bit more important.
And Alan, you mentioned that word, and I was talking to Michael in the last segment about that. I want to see what happens now on Wednesday. Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade come to town. It's a high-intensity game. It's going to be, Kobe versus D. Wade. A lot of attention on that. A lot of energy in the building, as Michael was saying. But, Miami, obviously a playoff team, much better than the Lakers. What do the Lakers come out with on Wednesday? Do they fold as they folded in a lot of their recent games?
Yeah.
Do they do something like this? Do they show a little more pride and come back and bounce back for that game and then the six that follow?
God bless Michael that he could look already over to Wednesday. I'm curious to see what Byron has to say after this game, what some of the players had to say. Just, it's not too often you look at a score and a team is down by 30 points. 40 points. They were down by 52 at a certain juncture of the game.
At halftime,
today.
the score was it was Lakers 34.
Yes.
Rodney Hood 30.
8 of 9 from the 3-point line. Wasn't even stepping in. Zero adjustment. I mean, it's a accumulation of so many different things this season. But I hope the locker room. There's some angry players and some angry staff.
I don't want to be at practice tomorrow.
Yeah.
If I'm a player. Might be interesting as a member of the media, but as a player, I do not want to be at Lakers practice tomorrow, and make no mistake, they will be practicing tomorrow. All right, well, if you're able to hear our flagship station at ESPN LA, stick around for the State Farm postgame show. Otherwise, it's 7:30 tip on Wednesday night, Lakers versus Heat. The last time Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade will match up. 7:30 tip, and you can hear that right here on the ESPN LA Lakers radio network. John Ireland and Michael Thompson on the call, and of course we'll be back after the game for the Lakers locker room report on the ESPN LA Lakers radio network.
You've been listening to the Lakers Locker Room Report, brought to you by Pizza Hut. Order tonight at pizzahut.com. Gardens Casino. Get your game on at the Gardens. Hear every second of Los Angeles Lakers basketball all season long, right here on the ESPN LA Lakers Radio Network. It's the pride.
Kobe driving towards the hoop, powers up, foul, count of it goes. Kobe Bryant's going to get three the old-fashioned way.
And passion.
Over to Kobe, three-pointer by Kobe. Good. Boy, did he bring his three-point game tonight.
And the history of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Magic down the middle, just what I thought. A hook shot at 12. Good!
It's the celebration of the greatness.
Hand off to Kobe. Oh! Two-handed slam dunk on the weak side.
And legendary performances.
9 to shoot. If the strength pulls up like 1-3, buries it. 70 for Kobe. What did you say?
I saw Kobe score 81 points.
From Kobe Bryant as he plays his farewell season. It's also a look to the future.
Left side, Hibbert, down low, Clarkson in front of the rim, scores, and the Lakers have the lead.
The history of one of the greatest franchises in sports is made here. The ESPN LA Lakers Radio Network. Lakers basketball is a final, and now it's time for your chance to react.
Hi, it's Kobe Bryant.
Light it up, Southern California. This is the State Farm Postgame Show on your home for Lakers basketball, ESPN LA 710. Your first chance to let us know how you feel about the game and how our Lakers did, plus full game recap and highlights. React now. 877-710 ESPN. This is the State Farm Postgame Show. State Farm. We exist to assist.
State Farm Postgame Show. State Farm, we exist to assist. Brian Kamenetsky, Alan Sliwa. Alan, sometimes on your birthday, you know,
Man.
it was I had a birthday in September. My family got me a couple of my kids made me like a little card. My wife got me a shirt. I don't know what you got for your last birthday, what the nicest gift somebody gave you was.
Yeah.
For Byron Scott's 55th birthday, the Lakers gave him a 48-point loss, tying the worst in franchise history. 123-75, the final score. Lakers dropped to 15-59 on the season. They've won 5 games away from Staples Center all year long, which isn't very good. That's not very many.
What is happening here?
This was a tire fire. Basically from the start, the Lakers were outscored by 18 in the first half, Alan.
Yeah.
Or first quarter.
First quarter.
First half wouldn't have been so bad, relatively speaking. It is difficult in
They
the
were down
NBA.
27 at halftime.
Yeah. It's not easy to do, to be down by 18 at the end of 12 minutes of basketball. This is about as bad as you can get. I mean, 59 losses now. I can't find one that was worse than this one.
I can say, all right, well, the Jazz hit 17 three-pointers. They shot 53% from the field, 26 assists. You know, we could throw out all these stats out there to show, okay, how they got to 123 points and how they got to a 48-point victory. But like we were mentioning there in the network post-game show, a lot of it, I mean, you just have to ask yourself, as a player, as a coach, as a competitor, you're looking at the score. You're down 20. Are you not still fighting? You're down 30. Are you not still fighting? They were down at one point 52 points in tonight's game, and they end up losing the game by 48. It's almost mind-boggling to me. I don't really have words to express my frustration just as a Laker fan, but I'm hoping their frustration in the same sense, and I'm sure many Laker fans out there on the road.
Yes.
Where do we start?
877-710-ESPN. I suspect there are some people, while Alan Sliwa searches for words to adequately describe his frustration, I suspect, like you say, Alan, there'll be some people who are able to express themselves at least a little bit. Again, 877-710-ESPN. But you look at it and you start to break down how the Lakers are losing. Nobody expects this team to be good. Even when they've been quote unquote competitive this year, when they've had their high watermarks, it's been 2 or 3 competitive games with a clunker in there, and then maybe you throw in a win, and then you have a couple. But there were moments over the course of the season, particularly about maybe a month ago, I think is about right, where the Lakers looked like they were kind of turning a corner, where they were going to make some progress, where the second half of the year was going to be better than the first half of the year.
They were going to show some progress. They were going to show that some of the things that they maybe weren't doing well in the first half of the season, hey, you know what? There might be a little light at the end of the tunnel. Some of these younger players are going to get more and more experience.
And now you start to break down a 48-point loss tonight, but they lost on Sunday to Washington by 13 in a game that was not that close. The final score does not indicate how much the Wizards controlled that game. Against Denver, they lost by 11. Against Phoenix, not exactly a world beater. They lost by 12. Memphis was a 7-point win. They lost by 5 at home to Phoenix in a game where they had to come back a little bit to make it that close. You go back to the Sacramento game, that was almost a double-digit loss. They lose to the Knicks. They lose by 12 to Cleveland. They lose by almost double digits to Orlando at home. You go back to it, and it reminds you of that stretch that they had for a couple weeks where they lost almost every game by almost 20 points. And they're not getting better. They're not getting better. They're getting worse. And I wonder, and I worry, and I think we'll get a really good test of this on Wednesday when they face Dwayne Wade and the Miami Heat against 7:30 tip. You can hear that right here on ESPN LA. I wonder how they're going to respond from that, because it looks like they've hit a wall, if not physically, mentally.
Right. On top of that, what I'm curious to see, some of these post-game interviews, I want to know what the mood is, what Byron Scott can say. His 55th birthday today. They lose by such a large amount. We're never in the game to begin with. This is followed by a loss yesterday against Washington. So this is 2 nights in a row where the Lakers really get dominated, one at home and one on the road. What changed? Yesterday he was talking about how he was sick of the same old scripts, sick of saying the same things.
Well, this was new. Yeah. This was new. 48 points, that's new.
That large of a margin is definitely new. But, there's just there are a few things that, you have in mind, but it's just not about X's and O's at this point. It's really just all about, can you feel that maybe they are so far, some of these players are checked out, knowing that there's nothing left to play for. Potentially the roster can be completely different by the time next season starts. You wonder if they've pretty much already clocked out and said that's enough of this season.
Right. I mean, you wonder if they've checked out on Byron Scott. You wonder if they've checked out on each other, because, I mean, we were talking about this last night, Alan, after the game. The Lakers are not just a catastrophically bad defensive team, and they certainly are. And tonight, Utah shoots 51% from the field overall, a number that was higher in the first half. They still stay over 53% from three-point range on the night, and that's not necessarily indicative of incredibly hot shooting, aside from Rodney Hood in the first half, who hit 8 of his 9 three-pointers. Those were wide-open shots.
Yeah.
You go back to it, the Lakers turn the ball over they only turn the ball over 9 times. I was looking at personal fouls there. But they shoot 30% themselves. They have 11 assists. They shoot 7 of 20 from three-point range. Julius Randle, 1 of 5. 1 of 11 for Kobe Bryant, 5 of 18 for Jordan Clarkson, 2 of 11 for D'Angelo Russell. They are a catastrophically bad offensive team, too. So tonight was a great night for those people who believe that their offense is losing the games for them. It was an equally good night for the people who believe that the defense is losing games for them. I just don't know where they go. 877-710-ESPN. This is I feel like I'm making something more important out of this than it is, but I do feel like we're going to learn something about this team going forward. These young guys who are going to be here for the next, hopefully, 5, 6, 7 years, improving, leading the Lakers back to a place of prominence. I want to see a little something on Wednesday against the Clippers this weekend, going into next week. And I want to see something over these last 6 or 7 totally meaningless games otherwise. But they're not,
They're not for Laker fans. They're not for us, in the sense that you're breaking records left and right with organizations that are sweeping you X amount of games in a row. You're doing things that this franchise is not accustomed to. Take some pride these last 7 games, 8 games. Do everything you can to kind of turn that page and make what the offseason is going to be hopefully a little bit better.
All right, 877-710-ESPN. We will be taking your calls tonight, the Lakers lose 123-75, the worst loss, tying the worst loss in franchise history, 48 points. Kobe Bryant's final visit to Utah, not exactly a stellar one. We'll also hear from Byron Scott. We'll bring you some player interviews, including Julius Randle and Kobe Bryant. That's all coming up on the State Farm postgame show. Brian Kamenetsky, Alan Sliwa on ESPN LA.
It's Kobe Bryant saying goodbye to number 24. As a child, he knew exactly what he was and who he was and what he was going to be. And I had never seen anything like it at the time. And 20 years later, I really still haven't seen anything like it.
I'm also forced to think about how many titles he and Shaq would have won if they stayed together.
Just came out of the Michael Jordan era. What was going to happen to the NBA? Everyone was trying to be like Mike, and Kobe actually got there. It was amazing.
Hey, it's Kobe Bryant, and you're listening to the home of the Lakers. A home for you in the Southland.
ESPN LA
710.
It's the pride.
Kobe driving towards the hoop, powers up, foul, count of it goes. Kobe Bryant's going to get three the old-fashioned way.
And passion.
Over to Kobe, three-pointer by Kobe. Good. Boy, did he bring his three-point game tonight.
And the history of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Magic down the middle, just what I thought. A hook shot at 12. Good!
It's the celebration of the greatness.
Hand off to Kobe. Oh! Two-handed slam dunk on the weak side.
And legendary performances.
9 to shoot. Gets the screen, pulls up like 1-3. Buries it. 70 for Kobe. What did you say?
I saw Kobe score 81 points.
From Kobe Bryant as he plays his farewell season. It's also a look to the future.
Left side, Hibbert, down low, Clarkson in front of the rim, scores, and the Lakers have the lead.
The history of one of the greatest franchises in sports is made here. The ESPN LA Lakers Radio Network. Recapping everything from our purple and gold battle. You are listening to the State Farm postgame show. State Farm. We exist to assist. This is the State Farm postgame show on your home for Lakers basketball. ESPN LA 710.
Here's Neto. Dribbles left, down the middle, runs into Ryan Kelly, who blocks it, and then takes it out of the air. Kelly ahead to Huertas. Huertas down the middle. Huertas all the way, throws it up, no good. And here's a loose ball foul, Utah, holding Meta World Peace.
Ryan Kelly with your McDonald's defensive play of the game. McDonald's has something new that might surprise you. Breakfast bowls. One loaded with egg white, turkey sausage, kale, and spinach. Not what you were expecting, right? Or try a scrambled egg and chorizo bowl, each for just $4.39. McDonald's, I'm loving it. Not loving tonight's result. If you're a Laker fan, tying the franchise mark for the worst loss in the Lakers' history. 48 points, 123-75. The final score from Salt Lake City. The Lakers dropped to 15-59 on the season in the worst way, I guess you could design. Brian Kamenetsky, Alan Sliwa here at our studios at ESPN LA. Short, I guess, of Kobe getting hurt, Alan.
Yeah.
This was about as ugly as it could get.
What did MT last night, when you were chatting with him after the game, he said, well, the good thing in this game is Kobe's healthy and that he still has a chance to obviously play the rest of the games. No different from tonight's circumstances as well. What's ironic is I've been sitting in that conference room for the last couple of months, and once we knew, which we've known for a while now, that Lakers are from a playoff standpoint not going to make the playoffs.
So mid-November.
So we've been sitting there and saying, all right, the best chance the Lakers have for an opportunity to get that top 3 pick. I've kind of been on that bus. I've been on that board, and here we are, and it's like, all right, well. I'm getting that, and I'm getting way too much of it in the sense that you still wanted them to play well, you still wanted the kids to develop, you still wanted to see some kind of progress, but games like this, it's not going to make the pitch that much easier in come free agency when they're talking to potential free agents and so forth. So let's see where it goes.
Yep. 877-710-ESPN is the number. Nexon has the coach's interview after every game. Byron Scott speaking to the media following tonight's tire fire.
Byron, what do you say in the locker room after a loss like that?
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. I hope they do a little soul searching and just think about what happened tonight and think about how we just didn't come ready to play and how we didn't compete. Sometimes it just comes down to having some pride and just going out there and trying to do your very best. I don't think we did that.
Was this as simple as lack of competition? When there's that kind of a blowout, you don't look so much at execution? Was it just about not showing up?
Yeah, I think so. I just didn't show up, basically after the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game.
Where do you try to take it from here with just so few games remaining, and what kind of things do you need to see as you head into the offseason?
Well, I think I said this the other day. I just need to see guys compete. You know, have some heart, have some pride in what you do for a living. You know, it really is that simple.
Byron, this ties the largest margin of loss in Laker history. What does that make you feel?
Any loss makes me pissed off. So, it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2 points or if it's 48 points. It really doesn't. Any time we lose a game, I'm pretty upset about it, but probably more so tonight because of the fact that, like I said, I just didn't think we came to compete at all.
What do you do with the final 8 games? It seems like it's pretty...
Try to find guys who want to compete. You know, like I said before, you know, after All-Star break, every game you play, there's something to play for. It's no different. You know, I don't care if it's 6 games left, 1 game or 2. Every game that you play, there's something to play for. And pride might be the biggest thing. You know, you got to show, you know, this organization that you deserve to be here and that you understand what wearing that purple and gold is all about. I don't think a lot of guys in that locker room understand that right now. No, not really. Not really.
Coach, a 30-point first half from Rodney Hood, then Kobe gets on him a little bit, face guarding him. Was that something specific emphasis from you to maybe eliminate him from the game?
Well, you know, Kobe wanted to take the challenge. It's a damn shame that our oldest player has to take the challenge. You know, I mean, it says about, you know, a lot about him. Obviously, that's what he's done all his life, but, you know, nobody else wanted to step up and take that challenge. And that's a shame that, you know, the oldest guy on our team that's leaving this league in 8 games, you know, was the one that had to kind of shut him down. No, I just wanted to get Tarek some minutes. The game was out of reach and out of hand. Just wanted to get Tarek some minutes. Ryan had been playing pretty good. I wanted to get Rob in there as well. All right, thank you.
All right, that's Byron Scott after tonight's loss in Utah. Nexen Tire provides high-quality tires with the best warranty in the business. Learn more about one of America's fastest-growing tire brands at nexentireusa.com. A lot of very angry people on the lines tonight. 877-710-ESPN. We'll start with Ben in Sherman Oaks. You are on the State Farm Postgame Show with Brian Kamenetsky and Alan Slewa.
Yeah, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I just think that Byron Scott, in all fairness, is shooting with bows and arrows, and they're shooting the oppositions with AK-47s. I mean, we got nothing, absolutely nothing for Pau Gasol, Hall of Famer. We got nothing for Dwight Howard, who was on a Hall of Fame track up to the last couple of years. And, Kobe for 2 years that Byron's had him has not been the Kobe Bryant that we know. He's been injured. So, Byron's track record, he's got 3 rings as a player. He knows how to get to the promised land. He's coached 2 teams, New Jersey, back-to-back into the finals. So
it was a long time ago, in fairness to.
Okay, but in all fairness, we've got a very young team. Our leader is, pretty much a shell of himself. I think we ought to give Byron. I think he's earned it. I think the front office needs to look at themselves. In all honesty, when you let go Gasol and Howard and you get 0. We've got a lot of money to spend in the off season, okay, and I think he deserves a shot with a full deck of cards.
And Ben, thanks for the call. I mean, well, they're not going to get a full deck next year, Alan, but there is a faction of Laker fans who believe what Ben believes. And there's no question, this is a terrible team. Like, from a competitive standpoint, there's not, Greg Popovich wouldn't be coaching this team to any more than, 20, 21, 22 wins, and he's the best coach in the NBA. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Byron's the right coach going forward.
Yeah, I don't think I'm in that camp. What bothers me more than anything else is you just want to look at progress. You just want to see if, in the big picture of things, not just is Byron the right coach for next year, is he the right coach for the next 2, 3, 4 years? Is he the right player? I mean, is he the right coach to get in the heads of these young players and motivate them enough? He continues to say in his interviews, they didn't compete, they did not show up. Well, Byron, that's on you. I mean, that can't just be on them.
It's at least partially on the coaching.
That's what I'm saying, is that it can't be 100% on the players and 0% on you.
You can't take credit for the good stuff when they're developing and talk about how what you think is what you've done is worked, and not take some blame for when the guys don't show up.
And you said it best in the beginning. This team is not going to be based on wins and losses. It's going to be based on, are they heading in the right direction? Are their players developing? I don't know what you can look at this season and really truthfully make a case that Byron is not only the coach for next year, but the coach of the future. And anybody who can make a case like that, even what Brad was saying right there, I can't buy it. I can't see how that is the mindset of some of the Laker fans, but God bless them. They have their thoughts too.
Particularly on a night like tonight, with tying the franchise record for the worst loss in franchise history. So it's a difficult case to make tonight, and you're listening to KSPN Los Angeles. We will take more of your calls on Byron Scott and anything else that you want to talk about. 877-710-ESPN. We'll hear from Kobe Bryant. We'll hear from Julius Randle. This is, in theory, Alan, rock bottom.
Yeah.
In theory. We don't know that. But in a season with now 59 losses, that is saying something in and of itself. Let us know what you think, 877-710-ESPN. More of your calls when we come back. Brian Kamenetsky, Alan Slee with State Farm Postgame Show, ESPN LA.
Clarkson drives inside, shoots a hook shot. Good from the right baseline. Tough shot by Jordan Clarkson, who has 6 in the game, and the Lakers are within 11, 25-14.
That's the drive of the game. The drive of the game brought to you by Subaru of Santa Monica. Stop by Subaru Santa Monica today and experience the new one-price policy. Learn more about it at SubaruSantaMonica.com, an LA Car Guy dealership. Brian Kamenetsky, Alan Slewa.
You fired up these fans, Brian.
I have fired them up. I gave out the phone number on a night where they lost by 48 points, and that was enough to do it. If you're wondering how the Lakers lost by 48 points, I would like to play for you a medley of Rodney Hood in the first half.
Shelvin Mack barreling towards the rim, puts it up. No, instead shovels it to Gobert. He takes it to the rim, can't hit. Gets his own rebound, puts it up, still can't finish. Gets his own rebound again, throws it to Rodney Hood. Three-pointer by Hood. In, out, and back in again. Utah. Kobe's got it, dribbling left, pulls up at the free throw line. 15-footer blocked by Gobert. Taken by Gobert. Gobert one-on-one with Randle into the front court. Decides to slow it up, give it top of the key. Rodney Hood for 3. It's good. Here's Mack dribbling right. Bounce past Booker. Booker guarded by Randle, goes backwards to Rodney Hood. Hood guarded by Kobe. Hood gets a pick, shoots a three-pointer. Good again.
Nice guy.
Rodney Hood again. Three-pointer. Hood is now 5 for 5 in the game. 4 for 4 from 3. Michael, they might want to guard him.
Well, they were.
Shelvin Mack.
It just keeps going, Alan. This is I could do this all night.
Rodney Hood, three-pointer by Hood. Good again. Led by Rodney Hood, who can't miss. Hood's got the ball now. Hood step back, three-pointer, good again.
All right, so that was the Rodney Hood medley. 8 three-pointers in the first half. Rodney Hood had 30 points at halftime. The Lakers had 34. So technically the Lakers were defeating Rodney Hood at the half. This was a night where the Lakers were down by 18 after 1, by 9 after 2. They were outscored by 9 points in the second quarter, by 13 points in the third quarter, by 8 points in the fourth quarter. You add it all up, it's a 48-point loss, and it is, in theory, as Solomon and Lake Balboa will tell us, rock bottom. In theory. Do you believe it, though, Solomon?
I believe it, man. I mean, you know me, I'm old Solomon. I've been watching the Lakers since the West Taylor days at the sports arena. I've never witnessed that much of a beatdown. And, scoreboard, 48-point loss.
52 at one point.
I'm sorry, what?
I said 52 at one point. I've never seen it like that myself.
Yeah, so what else? What other 2 words could you come up with than rock bottom? And my question to you guys is, regarding Byron Scott, was very telling in his interview in the paper where he said, remember, I wanted to use a tape machine or whatever and just record because I keep saying this over and over and over again and it doesn't get through these guys. That's very telling. They've either turned him off, they either never really were listening to him, they listened to him occasionally, or it's the end of the season and they packed it in.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, and Solomon, thanks for the call. None of those are good signs. And that was the question we asked in the first segment of the show, Alan. Have the Lakers as a group, they've clearly run into some mental fatigue, and that to some degree is understandable, particularly with young players, because this kind of thing really does wear on you psychologically. But have they tuned out Byron Scott this late in the year? Do they think he's going to be fired? I mean, has he kind of given up on them? Have they kind of given up on him?
Again, it's not wins and losses. Lakers, if they lost tonight by 12 points at Utah, we wouldn't be shocked. But when you're breaking these records after records, and whether a 48-point loss tonight or just as bad yesterday, you're playing at home against Washington, who is a below 500 team themselves. That's the problem. The problem is the Lakers are losing to teams that the Denver Nuggets, the Sacramento Kings, the New York Knicks, they're losing to teams that are not technically that far better than them, but the reality is the way that they're playing basketball, these teams are 2-3 years ahead of them.
Yeah, and it's, you look at it, and there is something to be said about these rosters, and it is important to note. The people who support Byron Scott are correct that the Lakers have a terrible roster in terms of competing right now. I like D'Angelo Russell. I think Randall's going to be a good player. I think Clarkson's going to be a good player. I think Nance is going to be a good player, but they're not great now. Mm-hmm. And so you look at it, Derek Favors, obviously better than the Lakers right now, better than the Lakers, anybody the Lakers have. Gordon Hayward, better than anybody the Lakers have. Rudy Gobert, probably better, certainly defensively and on the glass, better than anybody the Lakers have. Rodney Hood, if you ask people tonight, that doesn't include Dante Exum, who's been out all year. It doesn't include Alec Burks, who's been out all year. He's sort of their Lou Williams, to say the least.
And unfortunately, there's a lot
Trey
of teams.
Lyles, a young player.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of teams who are not even in the playoff race where you're making these same conversations.
You can do it with Denver. They've got some players. And the point of this, Alan, is yes, the Lakers do have a talent gap here that is massive.
Yeah.
But it also illustrates how far they have to go, because all those good players that I mentioned on Utah, they're 37 and 37. Mm-hmm. Looks like they're going to make the playoffs, but they're not a title contender yet.
Are there problems in the front office?
Yes.
No question about it. Have they made decisions over the last couple of years that are hurting them today? No question about it. The reality is yes, Byron Scott is a very, very easy target, but Byron's also made himself an easy target. Byron has put himself in a position where your supposed core, it doesn't even look like they're playing that hard for you. And listening to some of his press conferences.
So much standing around. Yeah. So much standing around offensively, so much standing around defensively. And I'll say, a few weeks ago, we at least were saying, well, they're still playing hard for Byron. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're not playing hard for Byron. I don't know if they've checked out. I don't know if Byron has anything to do with it. But they're clearly not scrapping the same way that we saw them scrapping a bunch of D-leaguers at the end of last year, but they were working. People criticize Mike D'Antoni. Those guys worked through the end of that, the Mike D'Antoni era. Something has clicked off for the Lakers right now, and I'm very curious to see if it clicks back on Wednesday following this terrible loss. Brandon in L.A., you're on the State Farm Postgame Show.
There is no argument any fan can make to keep Byron Scott next year coaching. I mean, he put himself in a position, like you said, he said earlier in the year that he takes winning over developing the players, but yet we're here at 15 wins, 59 losses. And tonight, the Utah Jazz have 37 wins, and in his 2 years with the Lakers so far, he only had 36. How are you talking about winning and you only have won 36 games in 2 years? You're not developing the players. He's not giving a good message to the guys. They're not playing hard for him, but it's ridiculous. I mean, it absolutely is ridiculous.
And thanks for the call, Brandon. I mean, that's the question. Is Byron said something today before the game where he was asked about where the next torchbearer, because that's the big thing. Kobe leaves. You need somebody to carry the torch for Kobe. Where's that guy going to come from? Is it going to come from somebody they already have? Is it going to come from free agency? And Byron was asked about that, and he said, his answer to is that player going to come through free agency was, I hope so. And I get what he's sort of getting at. He's taking a dig. I hope we get that guy. I hope we get someone to come in here and do it. But it just keeps reflecting this attitude. My brother pointed it out on Twitter at Cam Brothers. It just reflects this attitude that these young guys and developing them and encouraging them and staying on them and finding different ways to package your message so that maybe you're not repeating yourself over and over and over again every day. It's just he considers it a burden.
And taking away the blame Have you heard Byron Scott? What if Byron Scott today in the postgame conference came in and said, "Guys, this one's on me. Look, no team loses by 48 points. This is..."
Well, no, I get what you're saying.
Collectively,
yeah.
Yes, we lost as a team. We lost together.
Collectively.
And I have to do a better job. They have to do a better job. We all have to do a better job together. But there's just sometimes this finger pointing, and I want Byron to take, because from a respect standpoint, you will respect Byron more when he's talking more as a group rather than saying they're not doing this. It's not on me, it's on them.
The implication is always, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. And maybe that worked on the old school Pat Riley teams. But it didn't work in Cleveland, when he had a young team that he needed to develop. It's certainly not working here in terms of the development of these guys. And so maybe the message needs to change. If not, we can sit here and argue for the rest of the show about the messenger. But clearly the message, if he said, like you mentioned, after last night's game, over and over, play the tape. I say the same thing all the time. I have kids. I saw the picture of your little niece yesterday. For her birthday or Easter or whatever it was, and you change the message when you're dealing with young people. If your message isn't working, you change the message, and he's not doing it. 877-710 ESPN. We'll take more of your calls when we come back. We'll hear more post-game sound from inside the arena in Salt Lake City. Again, the Lakers tie franchise record with a 48-point loss, tying the worst in Lakers history. An ugly night in Salt Lake City, to say the least. We'll talk more about it when we come back. Brian Kamenetsky, Alan Sliwa, State Farm Post-Game Show, ESPN LA. 877-710 ESPN. The people are angry.
Man, I don't blame them.
Alan Sliwa.
I don't blame them at all.
Brian Kamenetsky, Alan Sliwa, State Farm Post-Game Show. State Farm, we exist to assist. 48-point loss in Utah tonight ties the all-time franchise record for the worst beatdown the Lakers have ever experienced, and it was ugly in every way, shape, and form. Lakers, after the first quarter, after 12 minutes of basketball, were already down by 18 points. That is not easy to do. That's hard. It's difficult to be down by 18 points after one quarter.
Unfortunately, they have found ways in different ways to do that this season.
They've achieved in that regard. After not doing much winning, they dropped to 15-59 on the season. And this feels, if nothing else, maybe you're sort of prisoner of the moment type stuff, Alan, on a night where you lose by 48 points. But this feels like the kind of night where something has to give. Either they're going to come back on Wednesday and show, we're still a group here together. We still believe in Byron and his message or whatever, or they're going to get flattened by Miami and Dwayne Wade and Hassan Whiteside and Luol Deng and continue
who have meaningful games as they position themselves in the Eastern Conference.
Julius Randle, after the game, he is not normally a guy who says a whole lot. Even in the best of times, he was brief following tonight's loss.
These nights happen in the NBA. Why just one-sided games happen? Why do you think it happened tonight?
I just didn't come out ready to play from the beginning.
Was there any reason for it? Did you feel like it looked like you guys scored the first basket, and after that it was all Utah?
Yeah, before the game I felt good. It just was one of those nights, I guess. I don't know. I don't like to make excuses. We just didn't play. We didn't bring it.
It's the worst loss of your career. I know it's a young career, but are those tougher to swallow, or is a loss a loss?
Yeah, it's embarrassing, but play tomorrow, Wednesday, so put it behind us and move to the next one.
In a game like this, do you even look at the tape, or was it just one of those nights you're just going to throw the tape away and focus on Wednesday?
I'm going to throw it away. Yeah, I'm going to throw it away.
That's it. Last thing for you. 8 games left. I know I've been asking you this a lot, but where's your focus with these 8 games? You told me last night you just want to focus on getting better. This was obviously a huge step backwards. How do you get it moving in the right direction again?
Come out to play from the beginning of the next game and try to sustain that full 48 minutes. Try to play the right way.
All right, appreciate you talking. Thank you.
All right, that was Julius Randle, John Island talking to him, courtesy of Time Warner Cable Sports. Now, you heard that word, Alan, embarrassing. How embarrassed are they? I think we'll find out a little bit on Wednesday. And I mean, not to sound like old school Byron, whatever, man up, blah, blah, blah. But to some degree, as an athlete, I agree with you. What you were saying before, it's like you want to hear some responsibility for the coach, but it's also the players. It is a collective. And the players can take control of how they react to tonight's game while we sit here and debate the coach. The players can be proactive. They can put in a better effort offensively. They can put in a better effort defensively. There's a lot that they can do while we sit here and decide what should be done with Byron Scott.
By the way, we won't. I've mentioned this in the beginning. Byron Scott is an easy target. I will make mention, Randall.
And a fair one.
Who Randall's been very consistent for most of the season. 2 points, 1 rebound. Kobe went 1 of 11 from the field. Jordan Clarkson, 5 of 18. D'Angelo Russell, 2 of 11. So it's not like, obviously Byron isn't taking jumpers. Byron isn't setting screens. So the players didn't play. The players played as poorly as the performance was. The 75 points and giving up 123 total, you also put the blame on the players. But again, there's a bigger picture to me. Are they giving up on what Byron's message is? Did they give up 2 weeks ago? Because they had that little short stretch, like you mentioned, 2-3 weeks ago, where they were playing okay. They were playing all right. You thought maybe they're heading in the right direction. Since then, they're losing to poor teams that aren't in the playoff picture, and they're getting blown out.
They're losing badly. Martin in L.A., you're on the State Farm Postgame Show. Martin, are you there?
Hello?
Yep, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. I just like to, before I start, say that I was a supporter of Byron Scott. I'm a firm believer of somebody proving me wrong before I judge them. And I think he has proven to me and to everybody else in the NBA that this man does not coach. A coach needs to adapt to his players. He needs to change, much the way Greg Popovich has over the years. He implemented a new offensive set that does not complement any of the players. I'm not even sure what they're running on defense. It looks like they are not even coached on defense. And his excuse for everything is they got to man up and play harder. That's something I tell the 12-year-olds that I coach rec basketball to. And I still take ownership for that. I don't tell it to them 100 times throughout the season, which it seems like that's his response to everything.
Well, and Martin, when you try to deliver a message to young players, and I'm not comparing 12-year-olds in your rec league to NBA guys, but they are still young players. When your message isn't getting through, what do?
You have to adapt.
Try something different.
Change the message.
Right.
The message isn't one that is even understandable. I'm not even sure what the message is. You expect D'Angelo Russell and Randall to when they're getting benched and back into the starting lineup. And as I said before, I don't see them being coached. I don't see any progress.
Mm-hmm. And it's a great call, Martin. Thank you. I feel like neither one of us are big Byron supporters. I think that's pretty clear. I know my brother, when he's isn't a Byron supporter. I know Jeff Biggs is not a Byron supporter. So all 4 of your State Farm, 5 of your State Farm, 4 or 5, I can't do math, of your State Farm postgame show 4 hosts are not believers in Byron Scott. There's nobody in that camp. And I actually think it would be easier for those people who are sympathetic, at least, to Byron, or believe that he hasn't been given the ammunition, so to speak. If the Lakers were better, I think you'd be able to see more clearly his inadequacies as a coach.
Hey, if the Lakers lost tonight by a couple points because it was a tough battle, there was that effort that you want to see. There were glimpses where you can see a potential future. You're not going to get, phone lines aren't going to be lit up like this. You and I aren't going to be angry like this. But the problem is they're getting blown out by teams that are not going to make the playoffs, or if they're going to make the playoffs, they're just going to barely squeak in. That's the biggest frustration, is we're not seeing improvement. In my sense, these players look like they're giving up on the coach. Maybe I'm wrong, but the way the last 2-3 weeks have been playing out, I don't know how you can argue something different.
They've given up on something. Chris in Hollywood, you're on the State Farm Postgame Show.
Oh, thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
You got a couple guys back there, George and Chris. They're great. So what I would like to say is that, you know what, don't give up on Byron. I know that you got 4, your State Farm 5 are against Byron.
No, actually, it turns out there are only 4 of us, and we're all against Byron. So,
okay.
So I don't know. I don't know what George and Chris are doing back there, but maybe they're pro Byron.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Let's give the guy a break. First of all, we have to remember that these guys are 19 and 20. They're barely out of their teens, right? Anybody that has kids, teens are going to do what teens are going to do. And when you throw them in a professional situation, they've only had so much time in the college realm to really develop. So they're still developing, and they have to develop among men. So we got to give them a chance for that. And we got to add another great player. So Byron's going to have a full complement of young players with a great guard. And we have to remember, Byron Scott made it to the finals, right? And how did he make it to the finals? Twice.
Yeah.
With a guard.
A long time ago in a very different NBA. So my question to you, Chris, is do you think that Byron Scott is still that coach, a guy in today's NBA, not the NBA of 2000, 2001, that can take a team of players and adapt and tactically and all these other things and still get the most out of a team's potential? Because I don't.
Well, here's what I think. And I'm a Kobe fan. And what does Kobe always say? Defense and rebounds. Byron is about defense. Rebounds, we'll see. But he does love to coach the guards. And when you think about the resources and the connections that he has, I'm not going to say that that's going to take a major play, but he does have that. And maybe if they won't listen to him, they might listen to a Magic that drops in, or Kareem, or, even a Kobe could come back and just kind of float around the facility a little bit if they feel that. This is Kobe's year. We got to give him the time. Byron is really trying to balance that. But next year he's going to have it's just going to be a whole new slate for him. So let's give him that opportunity. And I think that the Lakers will do great. Thanks for taking my call. And, if you guys want more input, I would love to hear from you. Thank you. And
thanks, Chris, for the call. Here, I get what he's saying, and I don't think it's fair to blame 59 losses purely on Byron. But, without Kobe here next year, does that help Byron, or does it actually take away one of the sort of the distractions, one of the things that you can kind of pin it on and put more emphasis on the fact that he just doesn't mesh with a rebuilding team? I could see both sides of it.
What if there's a coach out there that excels better with younger kids, has a history of doing of having success in the NBA or in the college ranks working with younger players? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Being a teacher. Because Byron more seems like, that old school mentality that he has, which I don't mind an old school mentality. The issue is it's not getting through to the players, and it's not about wins and losses. The 15 losses or the 15 wins mean nothing, but you're getting blown out game in and game out. Are you seeing improvement? That's all we wanted to see. Mm-hmm. All we wanted to see was, are the players developing? Is the team improving? Can you see, are there glimpses of, what, this team can look pretty good with a couple offseason acquisitions or a top 3 pick? I don't know if that I don't know how you can make a case for that right now.
Yeah, 877-710-ESPN is the number. We'll take a few more calls. When we come back, we'll hear a little bit from Kobe Bryant. And I will tell you the biggest thing, there's one major factor that I think determines whether or not Byron Scott comes back. And it honestly has nothing to do with Byron Scott. We'll talk about that when we come back. Brian Kamenetsky, Alan Slee with State Farm Postgame Show, ESPN LA.
The countdown has begun to the end of the Mamba in purple and gold. 17 days, 9 games. April 13th, Kobe's final game.
Kobe's three-pointer. It's good. That's what the fans came to see.
You're listening to the home of the Lakers.
On your home of the farewell season.
ESPN LA 710. Love you, Kobe.
Recapping everything from our purple and gold's battle. You are listening to the State Farm Postgame Show. State Farm. We exist to assist. This is the State Farm Postgame Show on your home for Lakers basketball. ESPN LA 710.
State Farm Postgame Show. Brian Kamenetsky, Alan Slee with State Farm. We exist to assist. Lakers lose, and boy, do they lose. They tie a franchise record for the worst loss in their history. 48 points, 123-75, the final score. They got off to a bad start. That's actually not true. They were up 2-0.
I was curious, did D'Antoni have anything good to say in that press conference?
This is interesting. My brother Andy and I are going to be filling in for Thompson and Trudell tomorrow from 10 to noon. Of course, the day starts. The review of the beatdown will start at 5 in the morning with Kelvin and Travis. And then Andy and I will be talking about it at 10 o'clock from 10 to noon. Mason and Ireland from noon to 3 with Katz filling in for Mason, and then Max and Marcellus. I was listening to this. I saw somebody post it on Twitter because the 48-point loss, which they equaled tonight, came against the Clippers at some point during the D'Antoni era a couple years ago. And somebody put it out on Twitter and noted the difference between the tone in Byron Scott and Mike D'Antoni. D'Antoni much more supportive of his players, much more encouraging, much more kind, I guess, to his players than Byron. Now, different team. That team might, different
personalities, different everything. Right.
Everybody's playing differently. But those guys played for D'Antoni all season long. For all the other stuff that we didn't like, people didn't like about Mike D'Antoni, that wasn't the problem. Byron has a decidedly different tone. So I'm just curious what the difference was, and we may chop some of that up for people to listen to tomorrow right here on ESPN LA. Crystal in Palos Verdes, you're on the State Farm Postgame show as we roll through the Byron Scott Hour.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. You guys really have hit the nail on the head. Byron Scott is just an old school coach. He is somehow not getting through to these young kids, and they checked out. I mean, they don't want to play for him, I don't think. He's too much of a disciplinarian. You're right. He doesn't support his players. I saw this starting last year when they hired him as coach. You could see that. You could see the way he treated his players was not supportive to many of them. And I think you need to bring in a newer, younger coach, someone like Kevin Ollie at UConn, that, Kevin Durant loves that guy. We need somebody younger that's gonna develop the talent that we have, the young talent.
And Crystal, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead and finish up. Sorry.
As far as Byron wanting to work with guards and teaching defense, no, they don't play defense. If you take for example Jeremy Lin, he's now in Charlotte. He was not known for his defense in the past, but Charlotte has developed him into kind of like one of their defensive specialists. Steve Clifford calls on him to play defense. And look at Charlotte now. They're going into the playoffs into the East.
Yep, Steve Clifford, by the way, and thanks for the call, Crystal, former Lakers
Great call
assistant.
by Crystal. Very good call.
The word I use, and it's not so much youth. I mean, youth can be part of this. You develop in a different culture, but it's a culture thing. And the word I use that I think Byron doesn't do enough of is empowerment. You look at a guy, what Greg Popovich does incredibly well is he creates a culture. He creates expectations. People know exactly what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, and where. And he has great players to do it. There's no question. But he also empowers his players to do those things that they're asked to do. Brett Brown, terrible Philadelphia team, still empowers his players to go out and try and to do. And Byron is more that old school mentality where you punish, you take stuff away, you don't empower. You don't allow people to work through their mistakes. You punish them for their mistakes. And to me, it's that lack of empowerment. That's what you want to do with young people, to give them a chance to grow, that I think Byron is missing. And you would tell me these developed point guards. Who did he develop in New Jersey? Jason Kidd?
Hall of Famer who was already a Hall of Famer.
Who did he develop in New Orleans? Who did he develop in Cleveland? Come on. You and I could have coached Chris Paul to an all-star team.
And Brian, it's more, there's no perfect scenario. So the Lakers don't have a Chris Paul, and the Lakers don't have Jason Kidd, and the Lakers don't have a great defensive stopper. Maybe you could say Tyson Chandler or David West when he was in New Orleans. They just don't have that. So you have to work with what you have. And if there was some progress being made, or if there were scenarios where, we say Greg Popovich, and he's not a good example because he is arguably one of the greatest coaches to ever coach. Sure. But there's still, Kawhi Leonard was taken deeper in the draft and developed. Manu Ginobili was taken in the second round
and empowered to take
developed.
Over that team. Yes,
it's about developing some of these players, and I think that's the thing that gets lost. Yes, we know they're young players, and the expectation is not Lakers were supposed to make the playoffs this year, but at least you're developing the players, you're getting through to them, the players have your back, and I could be wrong. Maybe the players do have their back. They're just, in some of their press conference, they're I'm not saying they're not supportive towards him, but they're not. You don't hear them going out of their way to say, you know what, Byron's our guy. This is completely on us.
Yep. And as Wait for Dusk points out, one of our followers, you can follow us at Cam Brothers. I know he listens to a lot of shows, makes the point. Byron made the finals 15 years ago. And that's a time when it might as well be 150. It's a
Right.
totally different game as it is now. Oftentimes, Alan, it's difficult to pick out who the Fantasy Springs Resort Casino
I don't have one
Lakers play of the
tonight.
game. Because, you have a lot of good choices. Who could it could be D'Angelo Russell, might be Kobe one night, maybe it's Julius Randle. Tonight it was very easy. And it's not hard to find the one guy who had a decent stat line.
Kobe's got it now, guarded by Hood on the right wing. I'm curious to see what will happen. Lou Williams for 3. That's good. So the Lakers trail by 27.
16 points on 4 of 6 from the floor, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. He had an assist. 1 assist, you say, Alan. That doesn't sound like very many, but the team lead was 2, so he really wasn't that far off the pace. That's enough for Lou Williams to be the Fantasy Springs Resort Casino Lakers player of the game. Fantasy Springs Resort Casino, located in the beautiful Palm Springs area, offers all you need for a fun-filled getaway or complete destination vacation. Whether your fantasy includes luxurious hotel rooms, exciting Vegas-style gambling options, fabulous dining, world-class entertainment, golf, or poolside lounging, you'll find it at Fantasy Springs Resort Casino. Let's squeeze in Rondale in Hollywood. You're on the State Farm Postgame Show.
Hey, how's it going, fellas? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just wanted to comment, you guys are blaming Byron Scott for a lot and everything like that, but I think, there's certain things that's going to keep you competitive in a basketball game, like defense, rebounding, and boxing out. And for a coach, you can't be out there, telling these guys to do that, and those certain things, as long as you do them, everything, they should keep you competitive in a game, at least not get you blown out. Then he has to work with this Roy Hibbert. Like, what can you do with Roy Hibbert?
No, you're right.
He's really
You're right. And
you can't do much with what he's working with. And then if you're a player and, you can't get a rebound, you're a guard, you can't get a rebound, it's kind of, mentally frustrating when your big guy's not rebounding for you, and you guys get not rebound, you'll get second chance of shots or anything. So
right, and Rondale, thanks for the call. I mean,
Call timeouts, chew him out.
Well, but he's not wrong. He doesn't have anything to work with. I get that, and we've made that clear all season. The win-loss record is not why I don't think Byron's the right coach for this team. And I don't mean to absolve the players for responsibility. You're all being paid. You're all professionals, and you watch. They're not moving on offense. They're not moving on defense. He's right. After Brandon Bass is still doing what he's supposed to do. Brandon Bass every night gives a professional effort. And, you expect bad performances from the young guys periodically, but you don't necessarily expect bad effort. I'm not absolving the players. I just don't like what I see as a season-long trend from the coaching staff in terms of how they've interacted with the players and how they're developing.
I can see his perspective. I just don't agree with the perspective in the sense that during the game there are still things that Byron could be doing that maybe just isn't his personality. And you see this often with a lot of other coaches. They're a little quicker to call timeouts maybe for some of the younger players because there's more of a thought process. There's more teaching that needs to be done. They bring him over to the side, and if it's not Byron, it's one of his assistant coaches pointing out, look, this is what you did wrong. This is what we need to do. There are still things that he can be doing during games. Yes, the players are certainly, they're showing game in and game out. They're not nearly as good as the rest of the players in the NBA. But at the same time, Byron should still have more impact in the bigger scheme of things.
Yeah, and I go back and forth between the coach's role and getting guys, quote-unquote, prepared to play hard and all this other stuff, and how much is the player's responsibility, how much of it is the coach's. Clearly, like you used the word before, Alan, it is a collective thing. Everybody has an influence on it. And I to the point of the players, I really want to see what happens on Wednesday. They were flat-out embarrassed tonight in Utah. 48-point loss. What
they
do
take
they
it
do
personally?
Coming back on Wednesday in a big game? Dwayne Wade versus Kobe Bryant. What are you going to do on Wednesday? And that's really up to the players, I think, more than the coaching staff. So I want to see that. And that's obviously a game that you can hear right here on ESPN LA. In terms of tonight's game and what it means for Byron Scott, we will get back to it tomorrow at 5 a.m. with Kelvin and Travis. 10 o'clock, Andy and I will be filling in for Thompson and Trudell. We'll roll right into Mason and Ireland, and, of course, Max and Marcellus as you're getting back into your cars to drive home. Next game comes at 7:30 on Wednesday night, Lakers versus Heat. Pre-game show starts at 6 o'clock, and we will be back to take all of your calls on the State Farm Postgame Show right here on ESPN LA.
It's the pride.
Kobe driving towards the hoop, powers up, foul, count if it goes, it goes. Kobe Bryant's going to get 3 the old-fashioned way.
And passion.
Over to Kobe, three-pointer by Kobe. Good. Boy, did he bring his three-point game tonight.
And the history of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Magic down the middle, just what I thought. A hook shot at 12. Good!
It's the celebration of the greatness.
Hand off to Kobe. Oh! Two-handed slam dunk on the weak side.
And legendary performances.
9 to shoot. Gets the screen. Pulls up like 1-3. Buries it. 70 for Kobe. What did you say? What did you say?
I saw Kobe score 81 points.
From Kobe Bryant as he plays his farewell season. It's also a look to the future.
Left side, Hibbert, down low, Clarkson in front of the rim, scores, and the Lakers have the lead.
The history of one of the greatest franchises in sports is made here. The ESPN LA Lakers Radio Network.